Hello, Abigail here with the astrology of this week. And this week is action packed. Things kick off on Wednesday, and we basically don't stop until we move into a new week. Also, important to note, this leads us right up to the threshold of Aquarius season. We are going to switch into Aquarius season on Monday. I do these from Monday to Sunday. I like to kind of get a full week and weekend all together in one chunk rather than it starting on like Sunday. Wait, it just feels weird to me. Anyway, so we're headed into Aquarius season after the end of this week. The eclipses start at the end of Aquarius season. It's already feeling like we're heading into eclipse season. I can feel that kind of upward trajectory as we head towards a point of climax. Just remember that we're starting on a new axis. We're going to be hitting the Aquarius Leo axis in this eclipse cycle, and then also the final a couple of eclipses with Virgo and Pisces, and it'll happen again in the summer where we have partial Leo season eclipses, partial Virgo season eclipses. So just keep that in mind as we move through these. Also, it's always good to check where these things happen in your chart. So I'd encourage you to go look and see, where's Aquarius, where's Leo, where's Pisces, where's Virgo, and kind of understand the themes of where this is happening, or get a reading from someone, me, anyone. Anywho, this week we have a lot. We're finishing up the Jupiter oppositions. Starting on Wednesday, we have Mercury opposed Jupiter. And this it's happening because of the Mercury retrograde, that Mercury is tying up all of the cycles as we move through. It's going to start to switch out because we're also going to have the Mars Mercury conjunction this week, and that's going to, Mars will then be tailing. But we hit this opposition of, you know, between Cancer and Capricorn, and this desire for safety and abundance and care and connection that we have with Jupiter in Cancer, which, I've heard some people being like, Jupiter's not acting very exalted. And true, but, something that I've really been mulling on, because I did the card of the year over on my IG, is that Jupiter is a storm god. It's not a consistent flow of goodness, even in Cancer. It is these lightning strikes, and also Jupiter is wisdom. We are learning what is best for us. We are learning what is aligned to us, and so having this Mercury opposition, we really get to have a clear view of what's going on. And no, it's not simple or easy, but we do get insight into how we work, our intellect, the way we move, our understanding. Also, Mercury is money and commerce, how we make money, and how we can find ways in which to align who we are as a person and the comfort and care and connection that we need. And also, what we have physically, which is very Capricorn, what we are manifesting in the physical realms, and how we can take that to get what we want. So this week is very much kind of a strategizing week. It's about figuring out what works for us and understanding that, like, what is abundance for one person is not abundance for another. But also there are beautiful ways in which our different perceptions of things can work together to make something really beautiful and caring for everyone. Exalted Jupiter doesn't want to leave everyone behind, which means we need complex solutions for complex problems. So you're not going to get a blanket answer or solution, because that doesn't exist. But it is time to really lock in and be like, okay, what do I want and how can I get it? Which has really been the theme of Capricorn season this year, especially with those oppositions. Also, we are in the Gregorian calendar New Year, but the zodiacal New Year doesn't start till middle of March. So this is also the time to be like, in the dark months, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere, in the dark months, how am I planning on stepping into the light? How am I setting myself up for when things actually get moving? And how can I take this time to go inward and to really think about what I desire and what I need as a person, and then setting in motion ways in which to get that need met. And I love how this is working out, because on the same day, on Wednesday, Venus is sextile Saturn, and so relational stuff is also coming to the front. And the sextile is a really conversational, chatty, kind of friendly, problem-solving aspect. It's where planets work together to figure something out in their different signs. So Pisces and Capricorn have a sextile. It's that ability of Capricorn to manifest and create and Pisces, massive amount of energetic resource. And so with this Venus sextile, with us really wanting to know what we want and aligning ourselves with what our needs are, we also get the sextile of like, oh, these are also my relational needs. And here's Saturn, which knows how to set boundaries and knows how to function within limitation, giving us information on also what works best for us relationally, which is very tied because we are humans most often are pack animals. We run in groups, we do better in groups. We function in community, every so often that, one of us lives in isolation, but it's very hard for us to survive alone. And so this is that reminder that what is best for us also needs to function within the concept of community and within the concept of care within the systems that we are under. And how do we make that work with the information that we have learned in the past 2.5 years in this Saturn cycle? And so there's a lot of really complex realizations and thoughts and understandings. Also, the very next day, we're heading into the Venus trine with Uranus. And this is our last trine cycle with this Uranus. Uranus has a 7-year cycle. So it will be then headed into Gemini. And this is kind of our goodbye to Uranus and Taurus, which was a lot about the places in which we live, about pollution and the accessibility of things or lack thereof. Also, Uranus is innovation, and it's been a really kind of hard lesson of like how innovation without structure, without boundaries, can end up harming us. And I'm not saying that Uranus is bad, but it is this drive for new, this drive for change. And what can often happen with Uranian things is that you basically outrun yourself. And I do think with this trine, we're getting kind of a glimpse on where we've been in hyperdrive, on the ways in which we have seen things overdone. Bright side, it is functional. We do get to take these lessons and learn them, but within the context of the day before, with this opposition to Jupiter and the Venus sextile to Saturn, we also get to be like, okay, so these are the things that didn't work. These are the systems that I have been knowing or unknowingly supporting that aren't really functioning, that aren't really helping me get what I want. And now I get to take agency to innovate. I think a lot of, Uranus and Taurus was a lot of us learning how to take control of our own agency, how to not be, and we're still learning it, how to not be kind of at the hands of innovation, at, you know, and kind of forced under the bonds of someone else's progress. A lot of us during this cycle of Uranus and Taurus were in survival mode in a lot of ways. And so, now is the time to kind of reclaim that agency and be like, I will innovate for myself. I will not be carried by innovation. I will be a part of it. And by being a part of it, I get to have a say in how the world has changed. I get to transform and move things forward. And this is also happening when Venus goes into the sextile with Neptune, because as we know, Neptune has been hanging out at the end degree of Pisces for a minute and is kind of your final hit when you move through a sign that has an aspect to Pisces. So we also get this beautiful, while we have this far seeing Uranian moment of what the future can be and what innovation can be when we take back control from systems, Saturn, Neptune is the possibility and the dream. It is the creative flow that we can have in this moment. This is a beautiful few days for creativity, for connecting with ourselves, for finding higher knowledge and higher truths. It's also a great time to face things in ourselves that we've been hiding from, because the energy is much easier to digest and understand. And that Neptunian sextile really helps us be able to see the hard thing, participate in it, but also understand that we can move through it and transform it and transmute. So this is really kind of beautiful setup in this week, and I encourage you to take hold of it, especially as we're headed towards the new moon in Capricorn. Then on Friday, because Venus is at the light degrees, we move with Venus in Aquarius. A different sign, a different energy, still ruled by Saturn though. But this is a more collective, a more quixotic, and enigmatic Venus. Venus in Aquarius, you never really know what they want because they're constantly changing, and neither do they oftentimes. And I'm not saying this is in like, oh, they're wishy-washy, but Venus Aquarians are constantly shifting and changing and playing with structure because they are ruled by Saturn, playing with structure, playing with the understanding of how something works and how they can participate in it and how they can kind of bend things to change and shift. And if you think about it, the modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, this idea of change and growth and projection into the future. And so this is the Venus and Capricorns very much get to work, do the thing. Um, Transform, transmute, change, function. Moving into Aquarius is like, how do we take this transformation and function and play with it within the greater context of society, playing with it within the understanding of who we are and how the world works and how that is an ever changing landscape and something, landscape and something that we don't have to live in fixed cycles, which is funny because of what Saturn, we often see Saturn as this fixed never changing thing, but Saturn changes all the time. Saturn is time. Saturn just tells us the rules and the structures within which we continue to change and grow. Let me just check I'm paranoid because I'm really bad at charging my mic and it's died on me a few times. Anyways, back to what we're doing. All right. And so now we're hitting Saturday. And we end up with the Sun trine Uranus. And this is also us sitting right next to that degree of this Capricorn moon. We have this trine with Uranus, and this is us understanding our capability and our possibilities. It's also, I really think, a moment where if we take the time to look back at the last 7 years, we will really see how we have transformed, how we have changed. Um, you know, Uranus in Taurus is a bit slower, a bit more thoughtful, but the changes that you make in Taurus last. It sticks. Partially because Venus doesn't want to constantly be redoing everything all the time. Venus wants to chill, to relax, to take time to enjoy others and themselves and to engage in pleasure. And so Taurus is like, once I've learned it, I don't want to have to constantly be fixing and changing and doing things. I want to be able to enjoy. And so this is a moment I really encourage you to sit back and look at the change you've done, regardless of how difficult or frustrating or whatever's happening right now, and to say, wow, I really should enjoy this. I need to take a second to celebrate the effort and the work that I have put in and how it has changed me as a person, how it has shifted my ethics and my morals and the ethos and why I exist. I think a lot of us, especially considering that, 2020 happened during the 7 year period, are completely different people than we were in a huge way. The world is completely different. Well, the world in some ways is very much the same, but we are so changed that we see the world in a completely different way. Let's just say that. Um, and this is a time to engage. It's also a time to recommit to change, to recommit to innovation, to recommit to a belief in shifting and moving. And maybe you don't have heavy Uranus, aspects and placements in your chart. And so this is more of an energy that you experience through time rather than you live with as a being. But it's still an opportunity to harness that energy and harness that earth sign change and be like, I want to be an architect of what we're doing. And part of the reason architect is so important within this is because of where the planets are, we cannot escape Saturn, which we can't, escape Saturn anyways, but we most especially cannot escape Saturn when there's a sextile immediately following. And because Saturn moves slowly, we are under the influence even as we experience things a degree or two out. So this moment in time, this Saturday, let me just gather myself because I think there's some hearing through things. Yeah, this Saturday, really sit with Uranian things and commit to yourself the future that you are going to pursue, the desires, the innovation, the changes that you are going to make. And know these things do not happen all at once. We are building and planning, and I really think those eclipses, man, those eclipses are really going to be shifting and changing our perspectives in a really big way. All eclipses have this effect, but I find eclipses in fixed signs because there is such, the energy of eclipses is so antithetical to the fixed energy the changes are massive. And so our first eclipse that we are going to experience, um, because it's going to be, let's see, so we're going to first have, yeah, the full moon in, the full moon in Leo. It's going to be the new moon Aquarius. Um, that eclipse is really going to shift and change things. But this, and I always say this with all astrology, get ahead of it. Start thinking now, start shifting now. This is also very mercurial of me. Start processing now so when that change happens, you are ready to go. And it is going to be jarring in the fixed sign. So use this energy, this sextile to Saturn, sun sextile Saturn, the sun trine Uranus, to really be like, these are the things I want to manifest into the eclipses. This is the change I would like to see and participate in, and that I am preparing myself for, because we are not at the whims of the energy all the time. Sometimes things do happen, but we also get to participate as energetic bodies. Just like the planets are energetic bodies. We are energetic bodies. The earth is an energetic body. I have a plant here that is an energetic body. Even things that are not technically living have a vibration when I ping off of them, like this mic. So take this time, especially this weekend, to really get thoughtful with what you want, to get um, exact with your desires, understanding that this is a projection and a hope that can shift and change over time. I think sometimes we can kind of mess up our manifestations by being a little too strict with them. The universe sometimes most often has a better, more aligned plan for us. We just have to get the building blocks moving and have that energy flowing. Um, so, yeah, moving into Sunday, we start off with the Mercury Mars conjunction. I always say this, I find that these conjunctions function more productively in personal charts. For me, mundane astrology does feel like it happens to us, the world, powers that be, people with money taking stuff, and we get to see those aspects through that perspective, and we're like, whoa, there's not much I can do about it. But in a personal sense, for me, what I'm trying to say is that Mars conjunct Mercury is going to have some crazy things happening on the world stage. Some aggression, bravado, overshooting your shot a bit. Um, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which can also make it kind of larger than life. And Mercury, which is commerce and money and communication and education, slams, into this conjunction. And a lot of the things that we've thought the way that they are, and a lot of, I think you're going to see a lot of people experiencing cognitive dissonance, especially online, where they're going to be like, but this is how the system works. Why isn't the system working? And it's like, well, if you dig a little deeper, the system works for whoever pays for it, whoever has stolen the most, whoever has disenfranchised the most people. It does not work for the multitudes, as it were, which we are a part of. But in a personal sense, this is a beautiful activation of all of the thoughts and the desires. This is also a moment where maybe it's time to cut someone off. Maybe it's time to end something. Maybe there's been a thought or a dream that you've been kind of holding on to through the Virgo Pisces eclipses, which would have happened in the fall. And now you're like, well, or not really the fall. Virgo season for me feels like the fall, but it is the end of the summer. Just how I feel it. Probably because it's my rising. But, this is also a time to end things, to cut things off. It's a good time to really look at what you have and recognize how maybe you haven't been activating it the best. Maybe we've been overspending. Maybe we've been, avoiding looking at financial stuff. That's going to kind of hit a bit harder, especially depending on where Capricorn is in your chart. But it's also an opportunity to take action on those things that are a problem. This is also a Mercury Mars conjunction. It is also a great time to get out and protest. It is a great time to be vocal about things online. It is a great time to confront and communicate with people who are still supporting things that are actively harming pretty much everyone but billionaires. If you have a bootlicker in your life, this is the time to have a conversation with them about why they want people to starve and rich people to have everything. This challenging worldviews, and maybe your worldview gets challenged, but this is a confronting aspect, and it ties right into the Capricorn New Moon, which I'll be doing a longer video on, pulling tarot for, etc. So we won't go fully into that, but it ties in beautifully, which is just how astrology works, because it is the dance, the great cosmic dance. And so everything flows into everything else, and everything has a precursor and a middle and the thing that follows, just like you would in an actual physical dance. Um, but it's completely wrapped up in this Mars Mercury conjunction. It is in the trine with Uranus. There's sextile Saturn and Neptune. There's a lot of energy and function and power in this new moon. So I really encourage you, firstly, to watch the video I'm going to make, but also to really activate something on this new moon. Something, not necessarily something completely brand new, but something you've been planning on activating. The brand new, completely brand new, new me, new year stuff, save that for the spring equinox, which is like, I want to say the 18th or the 19th of March. But in this moment, something that you've been wanting to shift, something you've been wanting to change, something you've been working on manifesting for a long time, this is the time to reactivate any spells you've done, to remanifest stuff, to do some kind of ritual around these things, because this is a very powerful new moon. So don't miss out. And it doesn't have to be on the day. I always say this, um, especially with new moons, the energy really kind of continues after it peaks. With full moons, it builds right before its peak. Interesting fun fact, full moon to new moon is kind of the lowest energetic time. That's when things are getting darker, they're waning. And so if you want to really participate in manifestation, I always encourage a little bit after a new moon, a little bit before a full moon. That's kind of the best window for kind of getting your biggest bang for your buck. And then continuing into the evening, we get Mercury trine Uranus, because Mercury moves a lot faster than Mars and the sun even, which is why we have so many Mercury sun conjunctions throughout the year, partially also because of the way retrogrades work. But we get this Mercury trine Uranus, and all of these things that we are planning and manifesting and believing in, guess what? We get to activate those. We get to put our money where our mouth is. We get to project these innovations, these desires, these connections. Like, you really have to be, especially with these Neptune sextiles and the sextile to Saturn, and that is also what's happening. We get all on the evening of Sunday, we get Mercury sextile Saturn, Sun sextile Neptune. So we're getting all of these sextiles with these planets. This is the time to dream, to believe, to commit, very Capricorn, very Saturn, to a future that you believe in, to a future that you desire, to the things that you want. And if you're like, Abigail, I don't know what I want, things have been blown up recently, then I encourage you, and this is something I always encourage, it's a very core part of my practice, manifest how you want to feel when you get something. Maybe you don't know what you want to get, but you want to feel happy. You want to feel safe. You want to feel loved and seen and aligned and fulfilled. Manifest those things. But this Sunday is a really powerful time in the kind of later stages of the zodiacal year to really kind of power up dreams and desires that have been tabled for a minute. Power up is, you say, and if you're like, Abigail, things have been crazy and something has been removed from my life, what are the things that you can do now that that thing is gone? Because yes, there's the grieving, there is the loss, but there are things that you now get to do that you couldn't before because you have space in your life. So revive that dream, revive that hobby, power up that belief in the future and the possibilities of what are to come, especially if you have gone through something where you've had your sense of self or hope crushed. This is the time to reignite that, to really believe in your ability to be fluent in the language of the universe, to participate with the cosmos, to project yourself forward into something really magical and beautiful. And yeah, we're in Capricorn season. Of course, everything takes work. But this is a holy work and a sacred work. And maybe it's the work of feeding yourself. That is holy and sacred. Maybe it is the work of building stronger relationships or finding a partner or whatever. That is this beautiful moment of sacred creation and holy connection. And so I encourage you to really dig into that and do something ritualistic on Sunday if you can, or Monday or Tuesday of the next week. Anyways, my dears, I know that was a lot this week. If you want to look at my notes, this doesn't usually look like this. It usually more often looks like this. It was action packed. I will say with astrology like this, you don't have to be engaged in every single moment. You just need to pick a thread and hold on to it. And if there's any thread that you pick and hold on to in this moment, I really encourage you to pick and hold on to what you want to innovate and shift moving forward, and committing and connecting yourself to that. Knowing that it will shift and change over time, but also knowing that the ethos and the core of this is a part of you, and that you deserve to see it through, and you deserve to experience the journey of this. All right, my dears, that is my reading for this. I will post the shorter tarot reading. I usually post this one on Saturday. I post the shorter tarot reading on Sunday. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my stuff. You can also follow me on IG, same name, same handle. But I wish you a really blessed and transformative week. This is a really exciting week. It's a lot, but it's exciting. And I really wish us all some truly magical things. Anyways, I will see you later.